Hey guys, welcome to Comic Den 316. I'm your host, Ace Knuckles. Today I'm going to cover Invincible. I really had a lot of fun yesterday whenever I did Outcast by Robert Kirkman. I'm trying something new. I want to put out more content rather than just my podcast. So I wanted to start doing kind of reviews and summaries. I really enjoyed this comic. It was suggested to me by Chris Rao. Go check him out at Mr. Rao Arts on Instagram. This was created by Robert Kirkman and Corey Walker. The story is awesome. It's very simple. It's very golden age of comics, poking fun at some of these things. Follows a lot of the trope and regular storylines that we would see, while also adding in some comedy and silliness, and also keeping it pretty action-packed. Whenever we first get into this, you see Mark flying with some guy who has a bomb strapped to his chest, and we're not quite sure what's going on. Mark is just... he keeps saying things like, "You're ruining my day. You're really messing up my day." So kind of nonchalant about the situation whenever you think, hey, I've got a bomb on this guy's chest and he's going to explode in about 13 seconds. So Mark throws the guy explodes, and Mark just says, "Man, I'm going to have a heart attack." So everything's kind of nonchalant whenever it comes to these superpowers, and that's kind of a theme that you see throughout the entire story is, yes, we have superpowers, yes, crazy stuff happens, but yeah, we still have other things to do. I've still got school, I've got a second job, mom still has to get dinner on the table, so it's not that big a deal. So after the guy explodes, we cut to 4 months in the past. It starts off with a masturbation joke. Mark's sitting on the toilet. His mom says, "You're gonna have a heart attack if you keep doing this." In real life, he's just pooping. So Mark and his mom are watching the news. Turns out his dad's fighting a dragon. It's not really a big deal to them. I guess they see this all the time. His mom just says, "I really hope he brings me back something good from Singapore." So she's more worried about the souvenirs than she is Mark's dad, who seems to be a pretty big deal when it comes to superheroes or people with superpowers. He's kind of, I don't want to say the Superman of the world, but he's got a lot of the same powers. Mark goes to work and tosses a bag into the dumpster. Instead of going in the dumpster, it just flies way up into the air. And all he has to say about that is, "It's about time." Another day, or later on that day, whenever it's just family dinner, just normal family dinner, dad shows up, just kind of zooms in at super speed, and everybody's ready. And Mark just says, "Yeah, I had a pretty interesting day," which if I discovered that I had superpowers, it'd probably be more than an interesting day. But that would be something that was new to me, whereas you'll see later on in this story that Mark's kind of ingrained in this life. He's used to it. It's not something new to him. He's been kind of expecting this to happen. So that night, Mark figures out, hey, if I can do this, maybe I can fly. So he goes out onto the roof, and he's kind of debating with himself, should I jump? If I jump, am I going to break my legs? I have super strength, so should I break my legs if I fall? And it's just this weird conversation that he has, which is completely normal. It's the exact same conversation you'd have in your brain, but it's not the comic book conversation. I think Robert Kirkman does an amazing job treating these people like they were real people. If you were a real person who had superpowers, you'd probably tell your kid about it. You'd tell your family about it. You would make sure that they know, hey, this is a secret we have to keep. This is something that you might have to look forward to when you grow up, is superpowers. But here's how we're going to do this responsibly. You wouldn't keep it a secret. It'd be too hard to keep a secret. Robert Kirkman does an excellent job of kind of poking holes in all of the other comics that have ever been around about superheroes, while also grounding it in some reality. After he learns he can fly, Mark goes out the next day to find some bad guys. He just has this suit thrown on. It looks like some track pants, a t-shirt, and he puts a bandana and goggles over his face so that people can't see him. It's really reminiscent of like the old Spider-Man whenever he first got his powers and he went to go earn some money wrestling, and he just had like the hoodie and the stocking cap pulled over his face. Mark's dad finds him, says, "Hey, are you ready to become a real superhero?" and takes him to the tailor who makes dresses and stuff by day, but at night he's doing super suits on the DL. The first attempt at a suit, Mark's not too excited about. The tailor says, "You know what? Why don't you just think up a name and we'll start building from there. Your name will dictate a lot of how you see yourself, as well as where we want to go in the direction of your suit." Next day, Mark's at high school. It's a typical high school, has the jocks and bullies and stuff like that. He confronts one, but he still hasn't realized, hey, I have superpowers, which include super strength. So he slams this guy into the locker, and it like really slams him into the locker. Not so much that he's like dead or he flew through the wall. It was just really hard and really dented the locker. So Mark's in there talking to the principal, and the principal says, listen, I can't have you beating people up, but it's nice to know that somebody's sticking up for the people who are getting picked on. It's nice to know that bullies can't just get away with whatever they want. And then the principal says, but you're not invincible, which is obviously his new super name. In the next scene, Mark's stopping some bank robbers with his new suit and his new superhero name. We then cut to Mark's dad talking to him. He's kind of telling him where he came from, telling him his origin story. So Mark's dad came from another planet far, far away. They go from planet to planet to see how developed they are. Do they have superpowered individuals? If they do, then are those superpowered individuals helping to protect the planet? If they're not, then I guess they fight them. Mark's dad decides, hey, I really love Earth, so let's just stay here for a while. And then he meets Mark's mom, falls in love. Then the next thing you know, we get Mark. Mark's dad tells his planet, I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to protect these guys. I'll see you guys later. You guys keep doing what you do. Mark's laying down in bed late at night, and he goes, you know what? I can fly. I'm not sitting here any longer. So he takes off flying, still in his pajamas, by the way, not in his new super suit. And he sees this guy carrying crates out of a warehouse and decides, hey, we're going to stop this guy right now. So Mark goes down, confronts the guy, gets slapped around a little. There's an explosion, and there's some group of superpowered teens who show up with a robot, and they all beat the guy up. I really like how Robert Kirkman does kind of the names. I mean, Invincible is kind of a cool name, but later on you'll see more superheroes showing up, and they all have kind of silly names. One of the names of the girl in the teen team, again, kind of a silly name, is Duplicate, and I'm sure you can determine what her power is and what her name is through her superhero name, which is also very dumb. If you're going to have a superhero name, it can't tell people what your power is and what your actual name. Maybe somebody needs to tell her, hey, find a better name. Also, whenever I was flipping through this, I'm trying to look at the panels, and I'm trying to read, because I haven't read this in a while. It's been about a month or so since I finished reading this. So I'm going back through, I'm looking at the pictures. Here's this kid in the background, and he's got the whole Superman front curl on his hair, and he's wearing a Superman Red Sun t-shirt. Holy cow. I can't tell you how excited I got whenever I saw that. Such a good story. You guys, everybody go out and read Superman Red Sun. It's amazing. I got super excited when I saw that, and that's what Kirkman does all throughout these stories. Is he has a little Easter egg here, a little Easter egg here. He crosses over with things I'm not even sure if he can legally cross over with, but he does it, and nobody tells him he can't. And that just goes to show how ingrained in comics and everything that Robert Kirkman is. It'd be one thing if he was poking fun at the big two comics, but then he wasn't really into the big two comics to begin with. But for him to just start throwing in all these Easter eggs from all over the comic universe, it's amazing, and it makes the writing so much better. Now I go through and I have to read his stories 2 or 3 times, and I look so close whenever I'm reading them, because there's Easter eggs everywhere, especially in a story that's this fun. There's Easter eggs everywhere. He just has so much fun whenever he's writing these, and you can tell. So this girl decides to take Mark to the teen team's secret hideout. While they're there, Robot says they need to go investigate what that guy was doing. He was stealing game systems, and they were wondering, why is this villain stealing game systems? That seems a little silly. The answer to that is they're building robots, of course. I guess these game systems have some sort of super fast processor that doesn't have any burnout. And so these robots would have lasted forever, essentially. So there are a whole warehouse full of them. And they kind of talk about that too, the two villains. It's one of those things where I'm not sure if this is going to come up later. If these guys are just going to be the thugs that always show up and always get their plans defeated, or if this is going to be a bigger story that Kirkman hits on later on. Because that's what I found. I just got finished reading Volume 2 not too long ago, and there's callbacks. There's callbacks to the first issue. There's callbacks to every single issue in here. So it's hard to tell with Kirkman's writing what's important and what's just throwaway filler to build up on the world or the story. I mean, it makes the story more interesting. It makes you pay attention to every little detail. And it also makes you want to go back and reread his material. It's not a, oh, I read that once, put it away forever. It makes you want to go through and read it all over again because you're going to pick something up every single time. We cut to a guy who wakes up with the bomb strapped to his chest and he explodes in the mall. And that's where Kirkman leaves it on that issue. And Kirkman leaves these things, I wouldn't even call them cliffhangers. He just leaves you in the middle of action. A cliffhanger, to me, is where you say, oh, we're alluding to something. Nope, his guy blows up. You get 2 pages. 1 page is a guy sleeping on a bench. He wakes up, sees the vest. It has 10 seconds left, and then there's an explosion. That alludes to nothing. That's dropping you in the middle of a story and saying, you know what, here's a giant middle finger. Wait until the next issue comes out. Luckily, we have Volume 1, so we get to read on. He does it in Volume 2. He ends the entire thing right there in the middle of some action, and you have so many questions, and you just want to grab him and shake him and tell him not to leave it off right there because now I have to go buy Volume 3. I was planning on buying Volume 3 anyway, but I don't have it right now, so now I have to go find it or wait for it to come in whenever I order it off of Amazon. So Robert Kirkman, if you ever watch this or if somebody ever sends this to you, I want you to know, love your work. God, you make me so angry. In the next issue, nothing really happens for a while. Mark and Eve are talking about the bomb. Mark quits at his job at Burger Mart, which I don't know if this is another little thing that they're doing. The job that he works at is called Burger Mart. It's 2 buns, and then in between the 2 buns is BM, and then there's little steam lines going. I don't know if Kirkman's just having people put poo jokes all throughout his comics, but that's like the 3rd one. That's the 3rd poo joke, and that's about 3 more than what you usually get in a comic. So I want you to know that I really appreciate a good poo joke, and I see what you did there. You put the BM in the buns and it's all steaming. Gotcha. Mark then goes home, tells his dad. He thinks his dad's going to be mad at him for quitting his job. And his dad's like, you know what? You're a hero now. You have superpowers. Let's go do superhero stuff. They're flying around having the father-son talk about, hey, when will I be as good as you? And his dad's like, well, it takes years of practice. And then all of a sudden, they have to go and they decide to help the government fight back an alien invasion. The alien invasion, it doesn't take too long. It's not a super huge important fight. And so after the fight, they just go back to father-son talking time. Then all of a sudden, his dad goes, we've got to get to the mall. So they go to the mall. They find another kid who has a bomb strapped to his chest. Mark's dad grabs him and he says, hey, who did this? You got to tell me who did this. But then the time's just clicking down and he's only got like 10 seconds. So his dad just tosses him in the air before he explodes in the mall and kills all those people. Right after this point, a portal opens up. The aliens that they were fighting earlier grab his dad and pull him through the portal, which takes him out of the picture, I guess. And I guess that was the point. I don't know, but it was just kind of something that happened. And there's a lot of that too. Again, this goes back to Kirkman. I don't know what's important. I don't know if I should look more into that or if I should just let it be what it is as a way to get his dad out of the picture so Mark can be the hero of this story. Mark goes home and he says to his mom, yeah, dad probably won't make it home tonight. He got picked up by some aliens. Mark talks to his mom later on that night. This is the first point where we see that she's like, you know what? I really do worry when your dad's gone. It worries me. It scares me. I'm scared he's not going to come back. I'm scared he's going to get hurt or killed. And this is the first time that they're actually making a big deal out of this whole superpower thing. Otherwise, it's just been kind of, oh, you know, that's kind of how it is. But this was a really good job of saying, hey, we put on a strong face, but there are things that, you know, I worry about. It's a real fear that he will die. Again, I know I keep talking about how great Kirkman is, but this just goes to show you can be silly and you can be serious. And I feel like this is kind of how people would actually act. You know, we put on a strong face. We soldier on. When in the face of adversity, we try to act brave, but whenever we're all alone at night and it's just me and my son, I can be vulnerable and I can say we're not always strong. I worry, I'm scared. So it was just a very moving scene. Back to school, everyone keeps saying that Mark and Eve are an item. Everybody keeps thinking that they're dating because now they're hanging out. Since she's part of the teen team, he has to keep correcting them. And so the science teacher calls him out on it and says, hey, you know what? If you and your girlfriend are going to talk in class, then we're going to have issues. And Mark's like, I'm not her boyfriend, and calls him a jerk on the way out. Whenever they walk out of the classroom, Robot calls Eve and says, hey, turns out the guy who's been strapping bombs to kids' chests is your science teacher, the class they just left. Mark and Eve go, they try to find this guy, they show up at his house, and the science teacher's like, hey Mark, hey Eve. I'm like, how did you know it was us? And he's like, well, how would I not know it was you? You've been in my class all year. And Eve, you're not even wearing a mask. How stupid do you think I am? Turns out that he's been targeting the jocks and bullies and popular kids because a long time ago his son had killed himself because he was being picked on and bullied. You know, that's a typical movie comic book reaction. You know, something bad happens, something terrible happens. Your son kills themselves because bullies had picked on him and led him to that point, so you want to take revenge on all of them. But it's not just that. He talks about, my son killed himself, and then that caused me and my wife to get a divorce, and that divorce spiraled me out even more, and so then I lost my job at the physics lab, and then everything just kind of fell apart. And what he's doing is he's taking it away from his son, which if it was his son, if it was all about his son, that would be one thing. In my mind, that would be something where you could say, yeah, okay, you're getting revenge on him. I don't agree with it, but it makes more sense. But now what he's doing is saying, well, since my son died, then that's why I got the divorce, and that's why I lost my job, and that's why all these bad things happen. And so he's taking it away from that and just saying, woe is me on all this other stuff that in the end, he's the one that caused. He's the one that gave up on his marriage. He's the one that didn't want to put in the effort to fix it. He's the one that let the depression take hold and lost his job. He's the one that kind of let these other pieces of his life unravel. But instead of taking responsibility for his actions, he just says, you know what? I'm just going to kill all the popular kids. So they go downstairs and there's another kid in his basement and he's got a bomb strapped to his chest. The teacher's also got one strapped to his chest. So Mark grabs the teacher, flies him, I'm assuming, to the Antarctic because there's a lot of snow around. He throws him. That's where we get back to that original scene of him saying, you know, you're really ruining my afternoon. And he just throws him. He doesn't try to save him, doesn't try to do anything. He just throws him. Which is another main difference between Invincible and, say, like the big two. The superheroes in this comic so far aren't afraid to kill people. Now, if they're robbing a bank, they haven't killed anybody. If they're stealing stuff, they haven't killed anybody. But this guy, he had no qualms with just tossing him so that he would die. I feel like if it were Batman or Superman or somebody, they would have tried to get the bomb off and they would have tried to do everything they could to save him. Nope, not in this world. And I feel like that's a more grounded, realistic view of how you would do this. If you were a superhero, obviously you wouldn't go kill people who are like stealing cars. But if you found somebody who was a murderer, if you found somebody who was strapping bombs to people's chest, you wouldn't have any issue with letting them die or killing them yourself. If you were a superhero, put down in the comments, would you kill people? Would you be that kind of a superhero? Let me know. Sound off. If I were a superhero, I'd have to honestly say, yeah, I probably would kill people, but I would also be one of those superheroes who would try to work with law enforcement. I wouldn't just be a vigilante who goes out and kills. So that's how it all ends. That wraps it all up. Mark saves the day, kills the guy. They deactivate the bomb. The kid's going to the hospital to have the bomb taken out of his chest because it's not just a vest. Turns out it's all integrated into his body. They're going to have to work on that. Then the last panel, Mark's dad walks in, got this unruly beard. He says, I've been enslaved in this camp for 8 months. Time works different in whatever planet or dimension they were on. Been gone for 8 months, even though it's only been about a week. His mom just says, oh, that's nice. And so that's how the whole story ends. So they go back to the whole nonchalant thing. If you guys enjoyed this, if you enjoy these videos, let me know. Comment section below. Let me know if I can improve anything. Let me know if there are stories I should read. Let me know if there are episodes I should do. Let me know if you'd like to do an episode. Let me know. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you like my channel. Make sure you hit the like button if you liked this video. Also, don't forget to hit that little gray bell so that you can get notified whenever I put up a new video. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at ComicDen316. Make sure you go follow me. I post stuff all the time. I try to stay active. Other than that, catch you later. Bye.